Today's insight is around communication. Again, yesterday I was just been doing some meditation, and I've also just sort of like trying to open up more and more to the new energies and the source energy that's coming around, and is integrating within the planet now. I I've just done some meditation this morning. I've just started to see some colours of getting like pink, blue, and yellow that have just come into my mind's eye. And when I connected to these, I was just trying to think, well, what are these? What are these colours? What do they symbolise? And I sort of like was giving them the sort of like the answer that these colours obviously are frequencies and vibrations, but they're also they're sort of like they associate with like with when you talk about masters, they have different sort of frequencies and colours. So like Almora is blue, Lord Lanto is yellow, and then you've got like pink, which is like Paul the Venetian, and they connect to like what the first like the first vibrational sort of like or the first ascended master ray, and then you got the second ascended master ray, and then you got the third ascended master ray. But you also got like in the Light Summit they talk about the threefold flame, which is pink, blue, and yellow, and it sort of like it relates to like love, wisdom, and like power in a sense. So the blue is like knowledge, wisdom, knowledge, and power, and then like the yellow is like the wisdom, and then like the pink is like this universal love, but it's also like harmony. So when you start looking into it, and as I start to connect into, I'm starting to see white now as well within those colours. So we know that these colours are starting to blend, and these blending colours are actually aspects of sort of like different frequencies and rays coming together, but they're also vibrations, and so like they also sort of like are related to different. So you've got teachers, universal teachers that are very much around us, like the Great White Brotherhood. They talk about within spiritual realms, and that's obviously a white color, but that's very much around sort of like union, wisdom, higher awareness. It's all sort of like these kind of colors and sort of frequencies, and we're getting all of these coming in. It's like as I start to connect it now, violets just come in. So these are all the colors of the ascended masters, and I'm being told these colors that I'm seeing are like reflections of the rays and the ascended masters, and they bring each of these rays and frequencies that are coming in, or the colors that you see hold wisdom. They hold like information. They hold like wisdom, knowledge, understanding. And when you start to connect to these rays, then they start to integrate with that specific rays sort of communication, or sort of like wisdom, which is very much around the source again. And this is what that I feel like it's been imparted as I start to connect into this. I'm seeing it. So obviously the violet flame is very much around like transmutation and transformation. Blue is very much about the will of God, or the first the sort of like the divine intelligence, the divine will, where you start to connect to that. You know that that will is also sort of like symbolic of being a co-creator. And then you've got the second, which is to do with like this like yellow color, which is to do with creativity, but it's also to do with like Lord Lanto, who's ascended master, and it talks about like the sacred heart, or entering into the heart. So you start to connect into that source energy again. I mean, there's very many sort of different sort of aspects going on, but like I just said, like the white ray, I said is like the Great White Brotherhood, but that also represents within like ascended masters. It very much connects to Serapis Bay, and now I just feel like as I just started to connect into that, I don't ever usually very much connect into this energy. I feel like, like Kuan Yin is just stepped forward, which is like a universal guide of like compassion, love, understanding, wisdom, and like I just feel like that's sort of like I just seen like this vision of like a black hair and like a white robe, and it's like a female energy like just stood in, and I just feel like that was quite Kuan Yin, is it, as I just like sort of like connected into that. But these ascended master rays are always around us. If you start to open up, they start to come in. But the white color is also Serapis Bay, which is around ascension, and it's very much like connects to like Luxor, the Egypt sort of time, and it's like pyramids, which are very much like portals and gateways like that take you into different frequencies. I was also sort of connected in yesterday, and somebody was talking about sort of dimensional sort of like realities and frequencies, and they're different. Like any kind of dimension is a different state of consciousness, which makes complete sense. So as you start talking about like The fifth dimension is a different level of consciousness, it's a different level of understanding. The sixth dimension is a different level of understanding. But each of these levels of consciousness are related, and connected to this source energy, and it's very much around that. This time is very much around teaching, learning, and growth and development, and it's about integration. It's like you're integrating these spiritual tools and this spiritual understanding and spiritual wisdom to start to live in a more conscious way. And when you become more conscious, you become awakened, and this is part of the ascension. And this is, again, as I sit connecting to this now, I just see, like, I feel like I've just had, like, this is very much connected, like, again, Saint Germain, which I've just seen, like, you know, he has like a beard, and he has like short hair, and I just feel like that again, that sort of energy has just stepped in, like a visual sort of image of Saint Germain, sort of like how he looks like in the Ascended Masters, has stepped forward. So I know this is very much around that, very much around the ascension process. Saint Germain connects to the ascension process. It's about working with the air, with like the masters and the energies that are coming in. For me, it's very much like what I wanted to talk about today, and I felt when I was meditating, was about communication. It's about picking up on those key things again when we're being guided and we're being directed. It's trying to, like, I feel like very much like my heart's like filling up with all these different colours at the moment as I start to sit there and connect into this energy, and it's saying to me, to know that actually those energies are around you, they're guiding you, they're helping you, supporting you, and bringing you this information, this wisdom, and the insights are there. It's just about sort of like picking up on them around, because they're very subtle. They come through images, they come through through many different ways. I mean, like yesterday, I was given sort of like I was directed to a podcast called Answers from the Masters, and it's a brand new podcast that's just been created by three or four, I think, channels that channel Ascended Masters, and I was directed to that yesterday, and then I was directed to Sixth Dimensional Consciousness. You know, a lady named Leanne Rose as well. There's many different sort of like sources that are happening at the moment, and they're all interconnected. They're all sort of like part of sort of like playing out at the moment. Like some of these answers from the masters yesterday were talking about Ascended Masters and how they help, to bring sort of information, intuition and wisdom through to each person, but how they work very differently with each person. And this is like, again, with me today, the colours are like the vibrational rays, but they also are symbolic of the masters being with me. That's how I feel when I look at them. I feel like these colours are saying to me, these masters are working with you. You're not seeing them in a physical form, but you're seeing them as like colour. But when I get into the colours and the vibrations, and then I start to see some of the images and the pictures of the masters to say that who are with me. Like, I've never really had Kuan Yin step forward before. And that's happened today, but that's because you're opening up to those frequencies. And they were saying yesterday that obviously the masters work on high frequencies, which we know, like vibrationals and spirits work on these high frequencies. So if you're not vibrating on that frequency, you're not going to receive that insight. So it's very much around that sort of like that relationship. It's like a co-creative relationship, but it's also like a two-way process of opening and expanding. And when you expand your consciousness, then you start to receive these information and this insight. So yesterday I was directed to this Ascended Masters, and actually the three colours that were connected to the Ascended Masters were the three colours that started to come into my head as soon as what were in the podcast's main sort of cover photo. See, I've just been drawn to that now. I'm just being drawn to the colours, because they give me confirmation of the fact that I saw pink, blue and yellow were the three colours that I saw in my head as I started to connect. And that's what's on the front of the Ascended Master, the answers from the Ascended Master. So that's telling me confirmation that the Ascended Masters are working with me, and the energies and the information that I'm getting is actually coming from Ascended Masters. So before, you're looking for that confirmation, because there's always that human side of you that stops or doubts a little bit. And this is what communication, they're giving you a direct example of like communication, of how it works as they're talking and communicating in a way with me now, as I'm trying to tell you and show these links as it's starting to create and happen as we're starting to talk within this video. And it's very much, that's how it happens. You're directed to something, you listen to it, it expands your consciousness, so then you shift, and then you become more open, and you become more open then to source, you become more open to the angelic realms, you become more open to the spirit guides, you become more open to the Ascended Masters. And it's very much, that's how it works, and this is how the spirit world works, and the vibrations of frequencies like that. So what happens, and this is, I was talking yesterday about universal source. It's ever evolving and ever expanding, and ever sort of like co-creating and growing and developing, and it never ends. It's an infinite source of cycles of birth and like birth and like death and rebirth, and in that sense it's never like it's a universal cycle of the rhythm of the universal law of rhythm with these infinite cycles that never stops. So and the source energy is like that. So if you look at that and you look at what was said with the ascended masters when they were saying about like each dimension is a new level of consciousness, it never end, because the consciousness will just keep the consciousness, the universal source consciousness never ever it's infinite. It never begins and it never ends. It just is, and it just changes and evolves. And this is again like the universal law of perpetual transmutation. That is what that universal law means. It's infinite in its own right, because everything keeps changing, transforming. One thing goes from one form to the next. It's the same with consciousness. Consciousness is a living, breathing thing. It never changes. It never, it never ends, because it's an infinite source, because it's part of the source. So it just keeps expanding. So as we expand as spiritual beings and we start to learn and integrate and start to use that, our consciousness in a way that we live in a much more spiritual way. So our journeys never begin and they never end. They're only here right now, and it's just like, and as we expand and we grow and we develop and we can hit another level of consciousness, then there's a new reality that opens up, or a new experience, or how we experience it, like a new dimension opens up, and then again it happens again, a new dimension. So it's infinite within its source, within its, like I said, the universal rhythm. It never ends. They're just infinite cycles. So that's the reading for, or the insight for today.